What's Gucci everybody today, and in this video we're going to be learning about the way to import Python libraries in Python 3. And so the reason because I'm bringing this up is to you, if you're a new programmer, is that there is a lot of code that you will want to write that has already been written for you. That's the power of programming, is whenever you turn on, an operating system or use the internet, somebody has already written that code for you, and that it's magically being executed for you. You may know how, you may not know how, under the hood. And that's the greatness of a computer, or really any computational algorithm, is it's just happening. Somebody else has done it for you. And so with any programming language, there are things called libraries, which are very helpful. There are things that people already made for you to be able to do things that you may have to write or may not know how to do right on your own, but this library will make it a lot easier for you. And so we're going to learn about how to import or get those libraries so it can make your programming experience much easier. For instance, let's say I wanted to write a square root function, but I didn't know how to write a square root function exactly. Well, somebody else has already written a square root function for me, and I can use that to, I can use their library of the square root function or a lot of other math functions to be able to, do higher math operations. So the way we're going to do that is with a keyword called math. And there are really three ways or I guess there's four ways to import things, and I want to show you all of them so that we can be crystal clear on what to do. So what we want to do to get a library is we want to use the keyword import. And so when we're going to say import, and what we want to do is then we want to say the library what we want to import. So the library I know I want to import is called math. There are other libraries, there are a lot of libraries in Python, and trust me, you can find them and do with your heart's content through some Google, and maybe I'll include a list of them in the description below. Actually, I will. So you say import math, and I'm sorry that this is bugging you with the brown. And so now I want to see that I properly imported the math library. And so when my program runs, it's going to go into the math. It's going to say import math. And so Python is going to look inside its system folder and see if it can find the math library. And if it does, it's going to load it and say, okay, hey, now you can use all these math functions. And so to show you, I know the math library has, for instance, my code is completing, has all of these functions. And so it has like an a cosine, copy sign, and all these things, but I'm just going to use square root. And so I'm going to get the square root of 25. And I'm just going to print that because I'm just here for fun. And so notice here that what I'm saying here is I'm saying import math. So the way I like to think about it is that, okay, when I'm saying import math, I'm telling Python to get me this box. I'm saying, okay, Python, bring me this box. And inside the box are all these toys. They're, the toys, and I like to think of them as the functions. They're the square root function, the cosine, the tangent, the absolute value. They're all these toys. So I've got the box, and now I need to say math dot square root to go into the box and pick to say, hey, I want to grab the math box. In the math box is a square root function, grab that toy. So I am going to be direct with my program and say, hey, go into that box, grab the program, grab square root, and play with it. So I'm going to play with the square root function, and as you see, I have a t up there. In the last video, I'm going to run my program, and hopefully I get 5, and I get 5.0. It converts it to a float for me, which is pretty cool. And I can Google, Python math library and look at all the functions, but that's what now we're here for. We'll learn about the other ways to import things. So that is one way to import things. Now, let's say, so again, think of that image where I have the math box. I say math dot, say go into that box and pick out what I want. I want the square root function, play with that, and do whatever you need. Now, this is the usual way to import something. This is the good way, but I'm going to show you other ways that work as well too. So I'm going to get rid of this here, and now I'm going to do import math as empty. So I'm going to use, what I'm doing here is I use as, and basically what I'm doing here is I set up an alias for my, let's do 36, for my math library. So I got that math I say import math, so I get the math box, I bring the cardboard box, and what I do is for this program, I'm renaming it or aliasing it to MT. So I'm saying, okay, for a shorter sense, I'm going to name it to MT. So now I've renamed the MT, and now I've renamed my box to MT, so now I'm saying, okay, MT, I'm going to go in, I'm going to play with you, and then you're going to be able to do whatever you need to do. And as you can see, everything works as normal. This is a pretty good way to do it. It could confuse people, but if the library you're using is pretty long, that can get pretty hairy. So there you can do that. So that is a way just to alias the same math library. Now we're going to get into something different here. What I'm going to do here is I'm not going to do import. I'm going to do from. And when I do from, I'm going to do from math. So I'm going to say from the math library, I'm going to import square root. I'm sorry. So what I'm doing here is what I'm going to do here is instead of bringing me the box, I am going to go to the box. I am going to get the square root function. I don't need this anymore. See, I guess I should say this first. What this is going to allow me to do is it's going to allow me to just call the square root function in the math library, nothing else. So what is happening is I am going to the closet, I am looking for that math box, I'm going to pick out the toy, the square root toy, and then I'm going to come back to my seat. If I did not bring the box with me. So since I did not bring the box with me, I don't have access to the other functions. From the math library, I just got that one toy. I just got the square root function. So, but as you can see, if I run this again, I get 6.0, and I didn't have to do math dot or mt dot. I just did square root because I just have that one square root toy. That's all I have right there. So, you can do this, but obviously you see the problems. If I ever realize I need another math function, I need to change this. And so also what we're going to do is we're going to do the final thing, and instead of square root here, I'm going to print out star. And star in a lot of programming is a way of, I'm going to use another function down here, star is a way of something in programming that means select all. It means get me everything. For instance, if you're searching for strings and you said search for the star, in many programming senses, it would get you every single character of every single string. Star usually means everything. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say from the math library, I'm going to go to the cupboard, go to the closet, I'm going to get the math library, I'm going to get the math box, I'm going to take all the toys out of it, I'm not going to take the box with me, I'm going to get all the toys, I can somehow carry them all, and I'm going to bring them back to play with me so I can play with all of them. So what this allows me to do is it allows me to, in a sense, use all of, is there an a cosine function? There probably is. Use all of my functions, and it didn't like that. It allows me to use all my toys to be able to do something with them. I can, do whatever I want. So as you can see, I have all my toys, so I can call all my math functions. So I was able to use the tan function, which I just thought of, to get 1.588, whatever that is. So I have all the toys here, but as you notice, I don't need to say mt dot or math dot, which is bad practice. And the reason, because the last two ways I showed you are bad practice, you may be saying, oh, well, I'm writing less code. But there may be, the way it's better if someone is looking at your code, in the future, or maybe in the past, they may say, where is this square root function? They may say, is it coming from the math library, or is it coming from your code? Did you write the square root function, or did the math library write the square root function? So if you wrote import math, and then you wrote math dot square root, I would know square root comes from the math library and you did not write it. But if you have from math imports star, then I don't know where it came from, and I may look through your code for a square root function and not find it because it's from the math library. So you're more crystal clear in when you do the math, when you do, the import as or the import, because, everyone is clear. Everyone knows where you're getting this code, where this code is coming from. And so if they want to look more into maybe how the tangent function works or how the square root function works, they know that they need to go look at the library and not look through your code more, which is pretty nice. So those are all the ways you can import libraries and things. I'll include a link to helpful libraries in Python, but I hope you guys have a great Gucci day.